Okay, so for number 2, first we don't have any parentheses, so we don't have anything to distribute first. So the first thing we want to look at is if there's any like terms to combine. Do you guys see any like terms you need to combine on number 2? Okay, 5r and 2r. It's a negative 2r. Okay, so if we combine those, what do we get? 5 and negative 2. We get 3r. So we have 3r and a negative 8. And then we need to get all of the r's to one side. So do we want to get all of the r's to the left side, or do we want to get all of the r's to the right side? Left side? Okay, so if we want all of the r's to end up over here, how do we move a positive 1r over to the left side? Subtract it. So we're going to subtract an r, which is the same thing as minusing 1r. So subtract an r. So 3r subtract 1r is 2r. So we have 2r minus 8 is less than 8. All right. So we want the r to stay by itself over here. So how do we get rid of a negative 8? We're going to add the 8. And add the 8 over here. Okay, so the 2r is going to be the only thing left over on the left side. A positive 8 and a positive 8. Say it again. 16. Okay, and then to get the r alone, we have a 2 and an r being multiplied. So to undo that, we're going to divide by 2. Perfect. And then when we divide by 2, do we have to flip the symbol? No, it's not negative. We don't flip the symbol. So we just get r is less than 8. Perfect. Okay. Any other problems we want to go over or talk about? Number 3? Okay. So if we look at number 3, we have no parentheses there either. Do we have any like terms we can combine? 2 and 1. 2 and 1 gives us 3. So we have 3 and we have a negative 5b. Okay. So the b is already on the left side. So we're going to leave it there. How do we move the 3 to the other side? We subtract it. How do we know to subtract it? Why don't we add it? It's a positive 3. So to move it, we got to subtract it. Okay, I'm going to subtract it from the other side. So I have a negative 5b on the left side, and on the right side, we have an 8 minus 3. What does that give us? 5. Okay. Divide by negative 5. Okay. So because these were multiplied together, the negative 5 and the b were multiplied together, that's how we knew that we needed to divide. Okay. So we've got the b. Because we divided by a negative, we're going to flip the sign. And then 5 divided by negative 5, negative 1. Okay. We good on 1 and 4? Yeah? Okay. All right, I'm not going to collect the warm-ups today. You can keep these. We're going to go ahead and take some notes. Linear equations that we're going to be graphing is slope-intercept form. You might also remember this as y equals mx plus b. Yep. So m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. So if it's the y-intercept, that means it's where it crosses the y-axis. So if we look at the first example, 7 is the y-intercept, so we're going to put 7 on the y-axis. And then with the slope is often written as a fraction, and it is rise over run. Rise over run. So the top number tells you how far to go up or down. You go up if it's positive, you go down if it's negative. The bottom number tells you how far to go to the right. We're always going to go to the right unless we run out of space and we have to go backwards. Okay, so the slope tells you to go up or down, positive or negative, and then the bottom number of the slope tells you to go to the right. That way we do not get confused. Okay, so this slope is rise 1, run 2. So we're going to go up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Now, we ran out of space, so now we can do the backwards version. So the backwards version of up 1, right 2 is down 1, left 2. So down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. Now, you don't have to put as many dots as I do. You just have to do like 3, 4 dots, and then you can use your ruler to connect the dots and make the line. And since lines go forever, we're always going to make sure that we put arrows on both ends of the line. We want to show that they go forever. We good with that? Yeah. So started at 7, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Okay, the next one. We're going to start at what number? 1. Okay. Now we have to think of the whole number -2 as a fraction. Does anyone remember how to make a whole number a fraction? You put a 1 underneath it. So this is going to be -2 over 1. So we're going to run -2, which means we're going to go down 2. Or we're going to rise. We're going to rise -2, which means we're going to go down 2, and then we're going to run 1. So we're going to go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. I'm going to do that till I run out of space. And then once I run out of space, I can do the opposite pattern. So the opposite pattern would be up 2, left 1. Up 2, left 1. Up 2, left 1. Okay. And I put arrows on each end. We good? Okay. We're going to practice that. We're not going to do anything more. We're just going to... Okay. Now, next to number 6. This is what it means when they say something like this, when it doesn't have 2 variables, it only has 1 variable. This means x equals 1. It means x always equals 1. It means x always equals 1. So if you were to come up with points for that graph, you could have the x-intercept 1, 0. Another point on that line could be like 1, 5. You could have 1, -3. You could have 1, 2. You could have 1, -4. You could have any point you wanted as long as the x value was 1. So if we pick these points and we start to graph them, 1, 0, 1, 5, 1, -3, 1, 2, 1, -4. So what it means is, if the x is always 1, where's the line going to be?
It's going to be a straight line.
It's going to be a straight line. It's going to be a vertical line at 1. Yeah. And then if we had an equation that just said x, or just said y equals, then that would be y equals that number. If you had y equals 3, it would be the y coordinate is always 3. So you don't have to really memorize what they are. You just have to remember what it means. X equals 1 means that the x coordinates are always 1. There we go. Does that make sense? Okay. So x equals a number are actually vertical lines, even though that seems weird. And this is why it works, because the x coordinate is always 1. That has to be true. Okay. 1 through 8. Do we feel like we remember those now? We are less rusty. Have we done enough of them that we are not taking the majority of them home for homework? We've done most of them here. Okay. We are going to go back to our notes. The next is standard form. And standard form is obnoxious because it is not ready to graph. So we have to do a little bit of work to it to make it so we can graph it. So standard form is obnoxious because it is not ready to graph. So in standard form, the x and the y are on the same side. The number is on the opposite side from the x and the y. So the first thing that we always have to do in the standard form is we have to take the x and move it over with the number, because our goal is to get y equals mx plus b. I'm going to write this down. This is our goal. Our goal is to have the y alone and then have mx plus b. That is our goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the 4y right here, and I'm going to minus the 3x and move it over to the side with the 12. So my goal is to leave the y and then have the mx and have the b. So we're getting closer to the problem looking like the goal. 4y, and then because the goal is mx plus b, I'm going to write the negative 3x first, and I'm going to write the positive 12 second, because I want it to look close to my goal. So negative 3x gets written first, positive 12 gets written second. Now, I want the y to be alone. I do not want there to be a 4 in front of the y. So how do I get rid of the 4 in front of the y? Divide by 4, right, Chris? Right. Okay, divide by 4. Okay, so the y is alone. Can you tell what the slope is? Yeah, it's negative 3/4. It's the fraction negative 3/4. Okay. And then 12 divided by 4 is a whole number. It is 3. Okay, so we are now ready to graph this. Where should we start the graph? At 3. And then where should we go from there? Down 3, right 4. Okay, down 1, 2, 3, to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3, to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I ran out of space, so what am I going to do? You can draw the line, right? Because there's 3 points, so we could just draw it here. Yeah. What if I want to draw more points?
Then you go back where you started and you go up 3.
Okay, up 1, 2, 3, to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1, 2, 3, to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Make sure I get arrows on either end. There we go. Okay. All right, next example problem. So our goal is y equals mx plus b. So we want the y to stay alone over here. So what should I move? The 2x, it's negative right now, so I'm going to do plus 2x to move it over. Okay? So on the left side, all that is left behind is a negative 3y. On the right side, I'm keeping in mind what my goal is. My goal is to have the x and to have the plane number. So what should I write first? The 2x is going to be written first. And then the 9. The 9 is positive, so what should I write? Plus 9. Okay. Now, if I want the y to be alone, what should I do? Divide by a negative 3, divide by a negative 3, divide by a negative 3. So when we have fractions, if you have a negative on the bottom, it's just the same as a fraction being negative. So you don't have to leave it on the bottom. You can just move the negative to the front of the fraction. So when we do our slope and we do rise over run, we're still going to go to the right. The negative on the bottom doesn't mean that we don't go to the right. So I'm just going to move the negative to the front of the fraction. I'm going to call the fraction negative 2/3. And then I've got the x. And then at the very end, what number do I have? Negative 3. All right, so what is the y-intercept? Negative 3, so I'm going to start down at negative 3. And then where should I go from there? Down to right 3. Down to right 3. Down to right 3. Down to right 3. And when I run out of space, I can go back here, and I can go up to left 3. Up to left 3. Okay, so let's grab our assignments and let's start getting some of these ready to graph. So look at number 9. What should we do first on number 9? Subtract the x. So I'm going to write my goal at the top. You do not have to write the goal. Nope. Sometimes it's just nice to see it. Okay, so our goal is to have the y alone, have the x and the number on the other side. So I'm going to subtract the x. So I have 3y equals, and then how should I write this part? Negative x comes first. Plus 12. Okay, somebody besides Caitlin tell me, how did Caitlin know it was plus 12, not minus 12? It's a positive number. If it's a positive number, you put a plus. Okay. Can somebody tell me what number is in front of the x right now? It's a 1. Okay, let's put a 1 there. All right, so how do I get the y alone? Divide by 3. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. Okay. So what do I have now?
Y equals -1/3.
Yeah, negative 1/3 is my slope. X plus 4. Okay, that one's ready to graph. All right, let's get number 10 ready to graph. So what should we do with number 10? Okay, minus 2x. Okay. So all that we have left over on the left side is negative 3y. And what should I write on the right side? Negative 2x gets written first, right? Because this is our goal, so we want the x to be written first. And we can put the plus 0 on the end if we want, but we don't have to because it's a 0. Do you guys want to put the 0 on the end, or do you want to just ignore it? Ignore it? Okay. And then how do we get the y alone? Divide by negative 3. Okay? So what's our answer? What's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. Okay, so the slope is 2/3, and then it has an x. Now there's no number on the end, so what's the y-intercept? 0. Okay, so I'm going to put a 0 on the end. If you want to put a 0 there so that you remember that the y-intercept is 0, you can go ahead and put a 0 there. If you do not need that reminder, then feel free to leave it off. Okay? So the y-intercept is 0 because there was no number there. You can leave it there or you can leave it off. Do you guys want to do some more of those together, or do you feel like you're ready to work on your own? Ready? Okay. So go ahead and work on those.